Hi, welcome to our first module of Youth Mentoring. It's great to have you here on behalf of Heart for Youth. We really hope you're going to get some good things out of our first session here today. So what we're going to be doing is unpacking some of the fundamental basics of what it means to be a mentor, what it means to walk in that capacity of being a great role model, a great influence for a young person. In this module, we're going to be looking at the Heart for Youth mentoring cycle. We're going to be looking at the role of you as a mentor. We're going to be talking about the difference between developmental versus prescriptive relationships. We're going to kind of look at some of the right ways and not so great ways to mentor. We're going to give you the 3 key words of being a mentor, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the stages of our mentoring relationship. There's a great statement that the New Zealand Youth Mentoring Network use, and it's talking about the essence of youth mentoring, and it simply says this: mentoring aims to provide a purposeful, structured and trusting relationship that brings young people together with caring individuals who offer guidance, support and encouragement. And what we find inevitably when we're talking to adults at our trainings, when we put that slide up, we kind of ask them to have a look at that for a moment and just kind of pull out a couple of standout words that kind of matter to them. And more often than not, they'll talk about the caring thing and the guidance, support, encouragement, all the rest of it, which is awesome. We love that. But the bottom line is, unless you've got purpose and structure, it's highly unlikely that any of that good stuff that we really want is actually going to happen. So we can't emphasize enough the importance of purpose and structure. And when you think about relationships, purpose and structure is kind of an odd thing to add in terms of connecting people together. But the reality of it, and I use this analogy sometimes, and my wife's okay with it, and I often kind of say, you know, if I was going to go home tonight and say to my wife, you know what, honey, I'm so glad that our relationship has purpose and structure, she'd kind of look at me and think, you know, what the heck are you talking about? But the reality of it is, when I first met my wife, we had purpose and structure. And what was the purpose? It was each other coming together. And what was the structure? Well, every night just became date night. Yeah. So with that, kind of similarly, I guess, with a young person, initially we want to create some purpose and structure. And so that's why at Heart for Youth, we help you actually do that. We're bringing you together with that young person, and we know what the purpose is. It's you connecting with a young person, but we've got to have that structure. And so that's what we do. And from that, inevitably, what we find is all that good, wholesome stuff that we love in youth mentoring, the caring and the trusting, the relationship guidance, support and encouragement, that all will come out of that. So it is really, really important. We can't emphasize it enough to just have that great purpose, create some structure with you and that young person, and just see what happens, and it's always going to be great. So it's important for us to know as mentors what actually really is our role. What are we really supposed to be doing? And equally as important, it's important to know what our role is not. And so some of those fundamental things that make a great mentor is being someone that's going to be that guide, that coach, that tutor, advisor, companion. I love the word cheerleader, and it's not necessarily getting out there with your pom-poms and dancing around on the sideline, but just being there for that young person, just encouraging them, having great conversations, picking up on some of that positive stuff, and generally just being super positive, as I say, someone that's going to encourage and help and make that young person just feel good about themselves and feel great about being around you and in your presence as well. What I think is really important, and we touch on this a lot, is it's important to know what your role isn't. And so as a mentor, I've spent a lot of time, decades really working with young people, but I know my limitations. For example, I'm not a trained counsellor, I'm not a therapist. As mentors, we're not here to kind of save that young person. We're not their parent, parole officer. We're definitely not an ATM, a taxi, and some of those other things that young people might expect from you. But once again, it is really important to know what my role isn't. And so in essence, I'm just going to be that positive, encouraging mentor that's going to be there supporting that young person and having a great journey, a great relationship with you. So I'm going to be that person that's going to try and help develop their full potential, help them with goal setting, getting them involved with community, working out what their needs are, and generally just being there for that young person, helping them do better at life and feel better about themselves. Moving on from the role of a mentor, what a mentor is and what a mentor isn't, it's really important to also talk about the kind of dynamics of the mentoring relationship. And there's fundamentally two types of relationship that we talk about in youth mentoring, and they are diametrically opposed one from another. One's good, the other's not so good. Our team, our mentors, our guest mentors are going to be unpacking that a little bit later in conversation. But fundamentally, when it comes to the actual relationship with that young person that you're connected with, we talk about developmental relationships versus prescriptive relationships. And you don't even need to know what that means. But if I was to ask you, would you rather be in a developmental relationship or a prescriptive relationship, as I say, without even knowing about that, I'm pretty sure you're going to say, hey, it's going to be the developmental relationship. So when we talk about developmental relationship, and that's really what we want, we're just talking about some of those fundamental good, positive things that make a great relationship between any two people, really. And so it's mutual respect and care, understanding what that young person wants to do, making them feel included in what's happening, all those sorts of really positive, once again, human interactions, versus that kind of prescriptive relationship, which is kind of my way or the highway. You know, I've been there and done that, and all you got to do is kind of follow me, and I've got this down, and or coming in as that more authoritative kind of parental type role. That's not who we want to be. And so we want to keep this relationship wholesome. Once again, we want to make sure that that young person feels included, that they're kind of equal partners, I guess, in this friendship and this journey ahead. So it's really important to understand the difference between developmental versus prescriptive. Once again, our team's going to be unpacking that a little bit later on the couch when they're having a conversation together. At Heart for Youth, we've got 3 fundamentals that we think are just absolutely critical when it comes to youth mentoring. The first one actually involves the 4 core values of our organisation, which are accept, connect, equip, and encourage. Accept, connect, equip, and encourage. And through a long time, thinking about my own journey in youth mentoring, we came up with these 4 core values as being so critical. For starters, that young person needs to feel totally accepted by you. Without acceptance, and again, it's the same for all of us as human beings, if we don't feel accepted, it's highly unlikely that a relationship is going to build. With that acceptance, we try to build connection. Food's always a great way to do that. Accept, connect. Once we've got acceptance, we've got some connection, then as a mentor, I'm able to get into some of that really great stuff around equipping, you know, helping them, whatever it might be, whatever the needs are there for that young person, equip, and then that last thought around encourage. And we're big on encouragement at Heart for Youth. So our first thing is accept, connect, equip, and encourage. When it comes to mentoring, there's fundamentally one aspect that's really, really important. So there's kind of 3 ways I think that we default to in terms of mentoring. 2 of them are not so great, and the third one is how we like to work at Heart for Youth. So as mentors, it's really important that that young person isn't feeling pushed, and young people feel pushed all the time. You know, get off the gaming, do your homework, stop back chatting your mum or whatever it might be. So often young people are feeling pushed. There can be a tendency, I think, as adults, we think we're doing the right thing by pulling. You know, I've been there, done that. You know, just kind of follow me, I've got it all worked out. But that doesn't really work either. So what really does work is that walking alongside. So young people, in terms of us mentoring, when we don't want to be pushing, we don't want to be pulling, we want to be walking alongside. And so what does it actually mean? I'd really love you to stop and think about, what does it mean to walk alongside someone? And for a young person, it's not this graduation of even sort of rising in life and succeeding. Life just doesn't work like that. And especially for young people, generally what it is, it's a series of steps moving forward, moving back, and sometimes just stopping. And so as a mentor, what I want to be doing with my young people is going forward with them. And sometimes if they go back, I'll go back with them. And sometimes if they just stop, I'm going to stop and I'm going to stay. So I'm not going to be pushing, pulling. I'm really just going to walk alongside them. And us as adults, who doesn't want someone that's just going to do life with them without pushing or pulling, but just walking alongside? So that is really, really key. Not pushing, not pulling, walking alongside. And as I always say, 2 steps forward and 1 step back is still 1 step forward. So it's really important young people feel that you're going to stay alongside them, whatever that looks like. Even though I'm not going to push, I'm not going to pull, what I can do is 3 other things that are really key and fundamental in that coming alongside. So at Heart for Youth, we use our 3 key words. Our 3 key words for youth mentoring are to, through, and away. That's to, through, and away. Well, what does that actually mean? So the word to, even though I'm not pushing, even though I'm not pulling, I'm walking alongside. As I'm walking alongside, could I guide my young person towards the good things? Yeah, so what are the things that are going to be helpful for them? What are the things that I can see that they can't see? And as I say, even though I'm not pushing or pulling, I'm walking alongside, could I guide them towards the good things? Job opportunities, positive relationships, anything that's going to be positive for them. As a mentor, sometimes what happens is I can't guide them to things because there is situations that arise that are just inevitable. Some of them can be negative. We can't change those. And so they could be situations that they've got themselves in that they can't be changed. They could be family struggles. They could be things around disabilities. Once again, struggles in family, sickness, whatever that might be. So that second word is through. So to, through. As a mentor, even though I can't change those situations, I can be very, very certain and be very committed that whatever that young person has to go through, that they're not going to do that on their own. That as a mentor, I'm going to make a commitment to go through those situations with them. And once again, as an adult, who doesn't want someone that's going to stand alongside, walk alongside them and go through those tough times of life? Yeah, so to, through, and the third one, away. So as a mentor, once again, I'm not pushing, I'm not pulling, I'm walking alongside. Are there situations where I might just want to gently, without judging them, making them feel trusted with you, actually be able to guide them away from situations, very subtly, whatever it might be. But once again, that young person not feeling judged in any way. So to, through, and away. Could I steer you away? Could I be that reflective mirror for that young person that says maybe that's not the greatest choice? Could I outlay a few other options for them, different paths that they haven't thought about? Once again, without telling them or forcing them or judging them if they don't even do what I've perhaps outlaid or suggested, but in some way just guide them away from some of those negative things, the peer pressure, whatever it might be. We all know what those tend to be when we look at the lives of young people. So 3 key words again. To, I'm going to guide to, I'm going to take them through the inevitable, the things I can't change, they can't change, but we're just going to face that thing, but you're not going to do it alone. So through and then away. What are those things as a mentor I can guide that young person away from that's not going to be particularly great for them?
Hi, my name is Jonathan. I am a Heart for Youth mentor.
And my name is Earl, and I'm also a Heart for Youth mentor. And today we're going to talk about the differences between a prescriptive relationship and a developmental relationship, and just share our experiences to just give you examples and zone in a little bit more on what Ross said in the training.
Yeah, we'll go over what we like, what we don't like, give you personal examples like he was saying. and also look at what we think works. So maybe this will help you with your relationship with your mentee.
So right off the bat, we talked about this a little bit before filming, the importance of establishing a good relationship beforehand where we don't come off, because we're meeting someone brand new, right?
Exactly.
And you don't want to meet someone brand new and then already tell them what to do. So in my experience, just establishing that relationship beforehand and just kind of listening without interrogating is super important to develop a developmental relationship, which is what we want. So I don't know what your experience was.
Well, I think the best way, that I've found worked is asking them questions. I mean, listening is key, but asking them questions because it shows interest. They already have people in their life always telling them that you should do it this way, not do it this way, and this is what you need to do. And we don't want to come across like we're trying to save them. It's like, because that immediately gives them the sense that something's wrong with them, something's wrong with their life, and you're there to make things better. I mean, it kind of corny, but it's not a made-for-TV movie where you come in and in a 2-hour movie you've made everything beautiful. It's about establishing a relationship with them.
Yeah, I think that's super important because the reality is we're not going to save them, right?
Exactly.
Like it puts a lot of pressure on the mentor, thinking, oh, we have to do this, we have to fix that, or we have to fix them, and it's kind of a pressure that doesn't work for either side. But sometimes in a prescriptive relationship, that's what ends up happening.
Yeah, and one thing in a prescriptive relationship, it tends to make it look like you're perfect, and they have to get to where you are. I mean, especially with kids on social media, it's very easy. They deal with people who are autonomous to them, who are judging or giving opinions or telling them how to do things that they never see, meet, or know. And now they have someone in front of them that they're looking to for guidance, and that you're trying to establish trust. And to have a conversation where you come across like, I've got everything figured out and I'm perfect, look how amazing my life is, you can have this too. Well, you have to understand what their journey is and what they actually want. So that's where the communication and asking questions has to come in.
I think especially because you just mentioned establishing trust, I think especially in the first couple of months, that is super important.
Exactly.
Because like you said, they have so many people that tell them what to do. And if we can establish that trust, then they'll come to us at one point, because they hear it all the time. It's not like they haven't heard it before, or they don't know it. They know it. They're well aware of it. They just decide right now that they don't want to deal with it. So if we can establish that trust and build on that, that will just change the shape of their relationship, and it will help us create that bond with them where they'll come to us, and then actually that gives us an opportunity to share and tell them, this is what I think will be a good opportunity for you, but it's still your call. So it's still in their hand, and they're still the decision makers.
Yeah, and it goes along with the whole mentor concept that we're trying to do. Like you're accepting them for who they are and where they're at. You're trying to equip them with options, how to do things in ways they can do, and then you want to encourage them through those options. And for me, the biggest thing is like finding that common ground. Like in your situation, you have soccer with your mentee, and I have football, and you use that to help with life lessons, just like coaches do. But we get to use it to help with life lessons off the field, and it's been very, very helpful to give them encouragement and make them see that it wasn't easy when they first started playing soccer. They couldn't dribble a soccer ball, or they couldn't catch a football, and then that got better over time with practice. That's the same thing as studying. It's the same thing as building a better relationship with their siblings or their parents or people in the community.
And that just shows that we get to honor their goal.
Exactly.
Because that's the goal that they choose right now. And I remember when I was younger and I was playing volleyball, that was all that I thought about, right? And so I encourage my mentee to do well at school, but it's not like if that's not their interest, if their interest isn't, into reading or certain subject that are taught at school, I'm like, just make sure you get your grades right, you get your credits, you're at the right path to graduation and everything. But what I really focus on, and I feel like you're doing the same with your mentee, is just the fact that we want to honor their goal, that they want to be an athlete then or there, and we just try to help them. How can we get you there? Because it shows them that they can attain the goal that they set for themselves. And it allows them to, that's a transferable skill down the road. It just shows them, hey, I set this goal. And whether or not they become an athlete, a pro athlete or not,
Exactly.
Doesn't matter at that point.
Yeah, and I think that's really key, is that sometimes those goals that they may seem lofty, and even if they don't get there, it's getting them to understand and encouraging them to enjoy the journey. Yeah. And especially on the educational side, I mean, they have to understand what you want them to, or what we want them to understand is that the education is one of the layers that you do for all things you're trying to do. And the bigger thing about that is that education is not just the classroom. It's life lessons with you, how to interact with your teacher, how to interact with your coach, how to talk to your parents. Those are all life lessons as well. For an example that I would use firsthand is like my mentee was having a problem with a teacher, and he didn't understand why the person was being so difficult with him. And so I asked him questions like, give me examples of what happened, what was going on. I go, okay, you don't like the subject. Okay, so, but you need this subject, you need this grade so you can play your sport, right? So if you listen to the teacher, actually give them what they're asking for, you may learn or you may not. That's, I'm not gonna tell you how that's gonna go, but you'll get the grade that you want so you can play. The teacher's happy with your progress and is gonna be more encouraging, more inclined to listen to you. So is it more important to win that in that way, or is it more important to just stick to your guns and feel uncomfortable? And if you can encourage them through those steps, those are great ways and life lessons that they can do, because that's going to happen at a job. It's going to happen in relationships. It's just going to happen in in challenges they have with people in authority. So it's a really good lesson to learn, is teaching those interpersonal skills.
And they sit with it too.
Yeah.
So it's not something that, in my experience, I had to reiterate a whole lot of times. We talked about it, and if they come back and they want to talk some more about it, then great. But what we both do is focus on the fun part too, and just encouraging them to, all right, this is now also a space for us to just hang out and see wherever this takes us. Like if you want to grab, a drink, or if you want to get ice cream or whatever, then we can do that too. Or if we want to go to the beach and just ball out or whatnot.
And I think the fun part is great because, part of both our kids are athletes. They want to play. And I've taken my mentee to work out and gone and do some things with training. And because we were joking around and it wasn't a coach and it wasn't someone in your face and being instructional and all that kind of stuff, we were just having fun. He gets done and goes, wow, we've been working for 2 hours? I go, yeah. And he didn't think he could get through a 2-hour workout because it was so much fun. And I think when you make things fun like that, like I took him to a bookstore and he was like, with the technology we have now, he goes, why are we in a bookstore? And I said, and so we walked around. I was looking at art on the covers. He was talking about some of the stuff. We went to the sports areas and he's reading this stuff. And I go, I didn't know they had this book for this. And I go, well, he realized that because it's right in front of you, it's tangible as opposed to having to search for it on technology. So it gave him a different perspective.
Well, I think as a mentor, we have a unique opportunity to be, I always like to look at it as like, they already have enough friends.
Yeah.
Like, we don't need to be another one of their friends. Like, yes, we are a friend in a certain kind of way, but we're a mentor. And that it's its own kind of entity where we have that opportunity to say, okay, we don't have to be cool in front of you. Like, I'll show you a bookstore because you'll realize that that's actually pretty cool, like, to hang out there and to check out some books and to see what happens there and to just have these new experiences. And I think that's super important in their life, that a mentor comes along and kind of introduces them to new experiences that they didn't think would be fun or they would ever have beforehand.
And I think that word can be such a blessing and a curse, is the word cool. Yeah. Young kids go through that whole part where they're trying to find their cool, so to speak, like they want to be part of the group and followers, or they want to go someplace off in some tangent somewhere because they think that's cool to them. And I wouldn't say they're scared, they're just unsure about what that may mean. And I think you hit on a great point, is like showing them that this is cool to me. And I'm not perfect, or that you can be goofy or silly, or you can make mistakes and own up to them and stuff. And that takes that trust level so much higher because they're like, wow, he made that mistake, he did this, so I can talk to him about that stuff. And I think that is like such a key to them as far as the encouragement part. And it's equipping them with something that they don't realize, which is self-confidence.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think that's that whole encouragement part that we ended up talking about for most of the time now is just so crucial to them because they have so many people that are prescriptive.
Yeah.
That tell them what to do, that are inconsistent about meeting them as well, which I noticed is I just have to communicate it. Like, hey, I'm gone for work travel for a week, and then, I ended up being sick, so I just reached out, and I had told him beforehand, hey, I'm gonna be gone. But then I reached out and told my mentee, hey, I'm sick right now. Let's schedule something for next week.
Yeah.
And that's no problem because they get it. They get that we have our life, and they actually end up being really appreciative of understanding that we take that time for them, right? So encouraging is the most important part, because it just carries, it's just one little thing, and it's just a couple of words for us.
Yeah.
But for them, it's something they think about, and that just like goes back and forth in their mind, and we get to have that position where we're kind of like, we can be like almost like the fun uncle, you know?
Exactly.
Where we also are in that position where we can show them, all right, let's not do this, let's do that.
Yeah.
But it just gives us a unique opportunity to make an impact in their lives.
Yeah, and I think you touched on something by mentioning the uncle thing, is that it's really important that you realize you're not their parent. Yeah. And if you're a mentor that is a parent, you have to really always make sure you're distinguishing yourself, is that at the end of the day, your words mean something, good or bad, and you have to realize that you're not going to be responsible for that later, because the parents deal with that day to day to day to day. As a parent, you know this, so you always have to be conscious of the fact of paralleling what the parents' beliefs are and supporting what they're doing. And it doesn't have to, if there's something you disagree with, it's more of, here's other options you have along with that. Like in soccer, there's multiple ways to get better at dribbling. There's multiple ways to get better at getting faster or stronger for a sport. So you give them different exercises, so to speak, so that but they're still going after the same goal that their parents are instilling them.
Exactly, and it's a lot of times just showing them, like you said, there's, different pathways that lead to Rome.
Yep.
And just having that perspective and seeing, okay, there's, how about I don't fixate on that one thing because my friends are doing it. There's actually another opportunity for me. And so with my mentee, I told him, hey, I know you went to a tryout and it didn't work out because the coaches were just not professional enough to schedule it, and so they reschedule it and end up not working out. But I told him, consistently showing up, and the funny thing is that's also important for the mentor, just to consistently show up and to have that permanency in their lives. That's a huge difference maker. And the older you get, the more you realize, hey, just showing up is already, you're halfway there already.
Yeah, I agree. And I think one of the things I'll do a personal story here is just showing that kid that when something goes wrong, how you handle things that go wrong. That is probably, I think, one of the biggest things. And I think the way I would kind of bring this whole conversation to a close would be is letting them know that, like you said, encouraging, we equip them, we accept them for who they are, and give them options, but at the same time letting them know that it is okay to make a mistake, and then how do you deal with the mistakes afterwards. And those things are where you really can mentor them and guide them.
In summarising our first module, we talked about the importance of purpose and structure in youth mentoring. We've talked about the role of a mentor, what a mentor is, what a mentor isn't. We've talked a little bit around relationships. Our teams touched on that, prescriptive versus developmental. We've talked about the 3 hot tips for youth mentoring: the accept, connect, equip, and encourage, that mentors aren't going to push, pull, we're going to walk alongside, and those 3 key words for a mentor: to, through, and away. What I love about youth mentoring is that this isn't just some kind of good idea to fill a bit of space in the life of a young person. Everything we talk about at Heart for Youth is research-based. So this mentoring connection with a young person really, really works, and research supports that. Decades of research really, that says that when we consistently walk alongside a young person, for that young person, they're going to get increased feelings of self-worth, they're going to get a greater sense of belonging, they're going to gain a better perspective about themselves, a feeling of significance, hope, a sense about what they can become. So this stuff, as I say, it's not this kind of touchy-feely, warm kind of fuzzy idea brought to us by adults who thinks, this could be good for a kid. This stuff really, really works, and research says that. And so we're excited about moving forward in this journey with you, and we know you're going to get a lot out of our next session.